Good morning and welcome to Lake Monticello. My name is Bob Sanders. I am one of the supervisors on the Water Safety Patrol. This gentleman next to me is Tom Braithwaite. He is the president of the Water Safety Patrol. Today we will be discussing safety rules and regulations here at the lake. Our goal is to make everybody understand the rules so we can all keep Lake Monticello a safe and fun place for boaters and swimmers. As we discuss the rules, we will be covering state and federal requirements, reckless operations and unlawful acts, and then rules specific for Lake Monticello.
Good morning. As Bob mentioned, I'm the president of the Water Safety Patrol. It's our job to really educate the members because the members that boat on our lake are responsible to know certain things like the Virginia boating laws, the lake rules, and basic navigation. So what we do, have about 85 volunteers for the Water Safety Patrol, and we conduct 99 patrols every summer. We do them on weekends and holidays, and the volunteers gladly give up their time. We have a pontoon boat that's outfitted to do all the things that we need to do to help people out. So our job is to both educate and assist our neighbors out there on the lake. People that enforce the rules are not us, but the Conservancy Police. Used to be called the Game Wardens, but they work for the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries for Virginia. And when they come to our lake, they're looking for certain things. If you're creating a hazardous situation or you've got some reckless operation, they're going to give you a ticket. And the fines start at about $150 and go on up. So it's important that everybody understand what they're looking for. And they're going to come on board and they're going to come up to you and they're going to ask to see if you have a throwable life preserver. And Bob can show you one of these things, but that's got to be within arm's reach of you. And if you have life jackets, they got to be out on the seat, and there has to be one for every person. A typical life jacket is something like this, which is a Type 3 inflatable, and that's a very comfortable jacket to wear, and you hardly even know you've got it on. You're required to have fire extinguishers on your boat, and you're not supposed to overload your boat. Pontoon boats in particular on our lake sometimes get overloaded with too many people. The characteristics of a pontoon boat are stamped right on it as to how many people and how much weight you can carry, and you've got to know that and you've got to follow it. You got to check your navigation lights to make sure that they're working. I see people out there at night and they turn on their lights and maybe they get one green one, but the red one is burned out bulb. So you have to be careful. One of the big ones that they look for is called bow riding. And we had an accident about 30 years ago where a young man was up in the bow of the ship with his legs dangling over, and the boat turned and the propeller took his leg off. So bow riding is an instant ticket from the Conservancy Police. And we warn everybody about this when we see it going on here on our lake. We have a pattern on our lake where everybody goes counterclockwise. It makes a huge difference and it keeps our lake safe. If we had to follow the regular rules of the road, it would be very confusing for a very small lake like this. There's other unlawful acts like boating while intoxicated. It's the same as driving, 0.08. You got to report injuries to the department. You got to follow our regulatory markers. We have buoys out here that we use to give you advice and information. And you got to be, like if it says swimming area, you can't go in there. That's a dangerous thing to do. Some of the other conditions that we would be looking for would be keeping a constant lookout. I see people running their boats a lot of times, and the guy running the boat, operating the boat, got to keep his head moving all the time so that he can see what's going on around him and be careful of other boats. We have a pretty safe operation going on the lake. We'd like to keep it that way.
As Tom mentioned earlier, this is what a throwable life preserver looks like. This has to be within arm's distance of the operator of the boat. And some of them we attach a line to, so if you throw it and you don't get it near the person in the water, you can pull it back and re-throw it. Now I'm going to talk about some other unlawful acts. When you're out there on the water and you're in a power boat, you need to give way to a manually operated boat. In other words, power boats have more maneuverability over sailboats, kayaks, and canoes. So the power boat has to make a judgment call and get out of the way in order not to cause an accident. And once you're out there, you are responsible for your weight. So please follow all the rules about making no waves. Okay, now I'm going to talk about rules specific to Lake Monticello. The Lake Monticello Police Department will hold the registered boat owner responsible for any infractions that his boat has caused on the lake. Everybody operating a boat on Lake Monticello has to have a boating license from Lake Monticello and liability insurance. 16 and over are the ages for getting a boating license at Lake Monticello. And to get a boating license, all you need is to go down to the marina, pick up one of these brochures. They're free. It has rules on both sides, and in the middle has a map of the lake. Take this home, review the rules, and when you feel comfortable, come back and take the test. The test is a 30-question multiple choice test. Okay, now let's talk about speed on the lake. The maximum speed on the lake is 35 miles per hour. That's during daylight hours from sunrise to sunset. Sunset to sunrise, you need to drop the speed down to 5 miles per hour. That's a good rule because it is dark out there in the lake, and if you're speeding, you can bump into some kind of debris that can damage your boat and injure a person on the boat. Wake speed is less than 5 miles per hour. So when you go into the coves, you need to do wake speed. You are responsible for any damage that your boat causes because you're making a wake. You can overturn other boats, capsize other boats. You can injure swimmers, damage property, and damage boats.
Here at Lake Monticello, we use warning flags. We have an orange and white flag that we run from the main beach, Beach 5, and the dam. We put that up, and that means the lake is closed. We don't see that very often, but we had some very, very heavy rain last spring, and we had to close the lake for over a day because the water level was so high. We use a blue and white flag, same locations, to say that there's no wake on our lake. And we use that typically when we have events going on, like the Monticello Man or the UVA Women Races crew are out here. We want a calm lake. We don't want any wake. And the safety patrol will be out there enforcing that. We also use an orange flag to designate somebody in the water. That's unique to our lake. It's just one of our rules. You hold that flag up that says, I've got somebody swimming off the boat, or I've got a skier that's down, so please stay away from me when you see that. You can also use that orange flag to wave it, which means that you need help. Or you can wave your arms if it needs help. And we see that people do that a lot. The other one that you don't see very often is a red flag with a white diagonal stripe. And that means that there's a diver down. I came to my boat one day, and I saw that thing in the water floating. And I said to my wife, we're not going anywhere till we figure out where those divers are, because I would have backed right out over them. And sure enough, about 2 minutes later, they popped up out of the water. So if you ever see that in there, that means that there's somebody down in there, and you got to stay away from them. We also have instructional buoys here at the lake. There's a no-wake buoy at the beginning of every cove because the property owners there don't want waves undercutting their seawall, or their lake wall. And we have a shallow water buoy so that you don't go between the buoy and the land. That means that there's shallow water or a rock in there. We have one designated, the marina, which is just an informational buoy. And we have the swim areas. Those are all marked, and you can't go in the swim areas. And the last one is the turnaround buoys at either end of the lake. Only the lake police and maintenance can move the buoys. Nobody's supposed to touch those. I mentioned before, all of our traffic is counterclockwise. So if you cross the lake, you got to do it with caution. And you do not anchor any place in the lake where you would impede traffic. We've got approximately 560 power boats on this lake and over 1,300 self-propelled kayaks, canoes, and paddleboards. So it can be congested out there, and if it ever gets too congested, the police can always shut the lake down too.
Now we're going to talk about water sports on the lake. Only property owners and tenant associates are allowed to have boats afloat on the lake. And you must register your boats at the marina. That's including power boats and manually operated boats. When you're skiing out on the lake, you need to have 2 people on the boat, the driver and the observer. The observer should be a person old enough to understand the hand signals given by the skiers so they can relate them to the driver. Once the skiers go down, you need to hold up the orange flag to warn other boats around you that you have people in the water. If you're pulling 2 skiers at the same time, you need to have equal tow lengths. The line should be of equal length. And you ski in the counterclockwise direction. There's no taking off or landing on the beach, boat ramps, or docks. While you're skiing, you need to wear a ski-type life vest, which has to be approved by the United States Coast Guard, and it should fit properly. Also when skiing, there is no taking off from docks, the beach, or the boat ramp.
Bob mentioned that the power boats have to stay away from the beaches and stuff. Now, the manually propelled boats and sailboats, they're okay to use the beach areas. We have a designated spot there where they can launch, and you'll see the kayaks around here that we launch right from the edge of the beach. And I want to talk about the ramp that we have for powerboat launching over at the marina. Some of the courtesies that need to be extended is you don't load up your boat on the ramp. You get that all done before you hit the ramp. We're trying to make as much use of that ramp as we can so that when you get your boat ready to go, then you bring it to the ramp and you launch it, and then immediately get your trailer out of there, move your boat over to the side of the dock, and then get underway. We don't have many guest docks, but we do have some at the main beach, and we have some at Beach 2 and some at Beach 3 that people can use for day use only.
Now we're going to be talking about the swimming rules at Lake Monticello. Waterfront property owners are allowed to swim up to 50 feet from the shoreline. If you're out more than 50 feet, then you're into boat territory, and that could be dangerous. Here at the lake, we have 5 beaches with roped-off areas that are for swimming. We are not allowed to swim in the major part of the lake. However, we can go into coves and swim. But once you're in the cove, please do not anchor in the center of the cove. Move off to the side of the cove, anchor your boat, and once you anchor your boat, hold up an orange flag to let people know that you have swimmers in the water. Remind your people that you can only swim 50 feet from your boat, and you should always keep an observer on the boat.
The education of the members and boaters here at the lake is an ongoing task. This is the Virginia boating laws, and we teach that every winter, and hopefully people will come. The education of all of our boaters is a continuing process. I have about 85 volunteers for the Water Safety Patrol, but I could still use more, so if anybody wants to join us, please contact me, and I'd be glad to get you involved in the program, and we'll teach you everything that you need to know. Thank you.